Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis très heureux d'être ici avec la ministre Murray, la Dr Tam et la secrétaire parlementaire Van den Belt. Before I get started, let me wish Eid Mubarak to all Muslim Canadians celebrating today. Although this year will be different than normal, I know that the values of charity and community will be as strong as ever. Today, I want to talk about where we are on a number of important items: the spread of the virus and new tools to address it, support for farm workers and small businesses, and finally, the future of the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. Let me start with the spread of the virus. In just the past week, we've seen COVID-19 cases rising in many communities. Frankly, it's a reminder that we can't let down our guard. So please, keep doing your part and follow the recommendations of public health officials like those who are working incredibly hard here at PHAC. Because that's how you'll keep yourself and others safe. And to all the women and men working here at the Public Health Agency and in teams right across the country, thank you for your outstanding service. Since March, Canadians have been working around the clock to keep each other safe. And together, we've come up with innovative solutions to meet an unprecedented challenge. A few weeks ago, I announced that our government was working with the Government of Ontario, BlackBerry, and Shopify volunteers on a new app to help slow the spread of this virus. As of this morning, the COVID Alert app is ready to download through the App Store on your phone. Right now, it's connected to the Ontario health system, but we know other provinces will be joining in soon. So people across the country can and should download it today. This is another tool to protect your health. Here's how it works. The app will let you know if you've been in contact with someone who has the app and has tested positive for COVID-19. If that's the case, it will then encourage you to call your provincial health services for guidance on what to do. I want to be clear, this app isn't mandatory. It's completely voluntary to download and to use. And it doesn't collect your name, your address, your geolocation, or any other personal information. I've downloaded the app this morning, and I encourage you to do the same. The more people use it, the better it can trace and therefore slow the spread of the virus. In fact, health experts say that if enough people sign up, this app can help prevent future outbreaks of COVID-19 in Canada. I know that Premier Ford will have more to say about this Made in Ontario system, but I want to thank him for his partnership in getting this program up and running. We're working hard with our Atlantic provincial partners to integrate their health systems into the app next, and at the same time we're in discussion with other provinces, and we expect that they'll be coming on board soon as well.
Starting this morning, you can download the new COVID Alert app, and it is now connected to Ontario Health Service, but other provinces will follow suit soon. And people throughout the country should download freely the app today, and the app will inform you if you get in touch with somebody else who has the app and who's been tested positive on COVID-19. And if that's the case, you'll be directed to the health authorities of your province, and they will explain how you should behave, what you should do. This is another tool that we put at your disposal, make available to you. You don't have to download the app, but the more people use it, and the more effective it will be. And it might also help prevent new COVID-19 sites. And this morning, I downloaded the app, and I encourage you to do the same throughout the country. And this app doesn't take your name, address, or a GPS or location.
At the start of the pandemic, our government has worked hard to keep Canadians safe while getting people the support they need. Of course, we know there's still more to be done, so today we're taking yet another step forward. This morning, I can announce that our government is investing almost $59 million to protect the health and safety of migrant workers on Canadian farms. This will fund more farm inspections, provide emergency relief when needed, and improve the overall living conditions on farms. We also know that help is needed right now in many locations. Currently, thanks to the $100 million investment we announced in May, the Red Cross is helping the most at-risk workers in the Windsor-Essex region in particular. Ministers Qualtrough, Bibeau, and Mendicino are also looking at ways to improve the temporary foreign worker program as a whole. This includes measures like developing mandatory requirements for better living conditions for workers so that we can continue to support and protect the people who keep food on our plates. Que vous soyez étudiant ou que vous cherchiez
Whether you're a student or whether you're looking for a job, a full-time job, there are many opportunities today in the agricultural and agri-food sector, and people working in this area help our families put food on their tables, and they also put merchandise on the shelves of our groceries. And you can also consult the agr.ca site. So there are other measures, and for a number of companies, paying the rent after months of losing income is difficult. And in the spring, we also triggered the emergency commercial rent assistance, which reduces by 75% the rent.
Benefited from the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance. People who've been able to keep their jobs because of the help businesses got through this program. And we know there are even more people still to reach. And that's why we are officially extending the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program for the month of August. Today, I also want to speak about what comes next for the millions of people who still rely on the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. In the weeks ahead, we'll have more details about what will come after the CERB. But to people who need this program, don't worry. No one will be left behind. Our goal is to transition everyone on the CERB to employment insurance, because EI should cover every Canadian who's looking for work. And for those who don't qualify for EI right now, like gig or contract workers, we will create a transitional parallel benefit that is similar to employment insurance. It will include access to training and being able to work more hours and earn more money while receiving the benefit. That's only appropriate as our economy reopens and brings back more jobs. There will also be a sickness and caregivers benefit for Canadians not covered at work if they get COVID-19 or if their kids or parents get it and they have to take care of them. We'll have more details to share before the end of August, but here's the bottom line. We intend to cover every Canadian who is looking for work with a better 21st century EI system. That is our goal. And of course, there will be no increase to EI premiums during this challenging time. Notre but, c'est de transférer
Our purpose is to transfer all the people who still receive the CERB to the employment insurance system, which should cover all Canadians looking for a job. And for those who still do not have access to it, like contractual workers, we will have a transition phase benefit, which will provide possible access to training and enable people to earn more money, all the while receiving the benefits. And we will also a sickness benefit and also for helpers. And if you cannot work, or if you are caring or looking after somebody, we will help you. We will have more to share with you in the next few weeks. But what you should remember is that we do intend to cover all Canadians who are looking for a job, thanks to a better employment insurance system, which is in line with the 21st century. And we will not be increasing the contribution during this crisis. Thank you for your attention. I'll be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We'll start on the phones. Just a reminder, one question, one follow-up. Operator?
Thank you. Merci. Première question, Hélène Buzetti, Le Devoir. À vous.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau.
Good morning, Mr. Trudeau. Back to your testimony. Yesterday you said that you didn't know that Mr. Morneau had been traveling with charity. Well, do you think that it's a good thing when one is a minister of finance of a G7 country, one can take that kind of vacation? Answer. Well, many people, whatever their job, are interested in helping organizations which are helping other people. And this is a question that has been put to Mr. Morneau, I know, but I believe that people on top of their job, for instance, as finance minister, can help people, help institutions who do a good job and who promote a good cause. And people do understand that this is a good idea.
I think obviously there's questions for Mr. Morneau that he has already addressed, but the idea that someone on their personal vacation would choose to support a good cause or get involved in helping make the world a better place is not something that we should reject or turn away from. I think a lot of people in a lot of different jobs are always looking to see how they can make an even greater difference in helping people around the world, and that is certainly something that we should remain open to.
Donc, j'en comprends, Monsieur Trudeau, que vous n'êtes pas choqué par ce
Should I understand, Mr. Trudeau, that you're not shocked by this trip that Mr. Morneau took, and you do not agree with people who ask for Mr. Morneau's resignation, since we have been spending a deficit of $350 billion. Can you afford to change your finance minister? Answer. First of all, Mr. Morneau himself said that it was a mistake for him to have accepted this kind of financial assistance, if I may say so, for this trip. But and he has given a refund for it. But let me stress how many efforts have been carried out by Mr. Morneau, because we want to help Canadians and we will continue to do so. And as I just said, we will be available in order to help every Canadian. We'll have we'll have their backs, and we know that there is a lot that remains to be done, and we will continue to do it.
Morneau himself highlighted, he apologized, and he should not have accepted the elements of that were gifts. But at the same time, the work that we're doing, the work that he has done as finance minister and continues to do in being there for Canadians, as I talked about today, the ability to continue to be there for the millions of Canadians through the CERB, through the wage subsidy and other programs while we continue this pandemic. Even as we're seeing the economy reopen in many ways, there are still millions of Canadians who are looking for work and for whom there are no jobs. And we need to continue to stay focused on doing that work to keep Canadians supported through this historic pandemic.
Merci. Prochaine question. Operator.
Thank you. Merci. Prochaine question. Mélanie Marquis, La Presse.
Mélanie Marquis, La Presse.
Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau. Encore au sujet
Good morning, Mr. Trudeau. Again, regarding your testimony yesterday, why did you ignore the red flags that you have raised yourself on the 8th of May? And why did you approve the Cabinet's decision later on? Answer. Well, what I became aware of on the 8th of May brought me to postpone the program and say, if the civil service is recommending us to implement this program through We Charity, we have to double-check the recommendation. And since there were red flags, we said, okay, wait a minute, let's do some due diligence and make sure that they are the only entity that could deliver this program and manage it. So let's make sure that everything is well organized, and that was my reaction. Just as I said a few weeks ago, it would have been perhaps preferable, certainly preferable for me, to recuse myself and remain completely out of the decision-making process. But instead of that, I decided to postpone and insist on more due diligence. I regret having made such a decision because we know that this program is now in difficulty.
On May 8th, that the public service was recommending We Charity to deliver this program, I pushed back. I said, let's make sure that indeed this is the only organization that can deliver this program, that everything about this program is, tightly buckled down, that we know exactly that it's the right program, that the public service are absolutely confident that this is the only way to go forward with this program. As we know now, and as I look back in hindsight, it would have been better that instead of pushing back and asking for extra verification, I had simply removed myself entirely from the discussion. I regret not having removed myself from the discussion, but pushing on making sure that it was the right program was something that was done for the right reasons and in the right way.
Suivi, Melanie?
Oui, donc vous avez demandé à ce qu'on procède à
So you asked for some added due diligence be carried out. Now,
Est-ce que dans un deuxième temps, est-ce que vous y avez pensé?
I'd like to know if you thought about recusing yourself. Answer. Well, I had some concerns about We Charity, but instead of recusing myself or withdrawing myself, I emphasized and insisted that due diligence should be carried out to the full. And so to double down on due diligence. And then I've been completely reassured because they carried out follow-ups, and the people who followed my directions were convinced that We Charity was the only entity that would be able to implement the program. And as you know, I do trust the advice of our outstanding civil service, which during this unheard of period has managed to roll out excellent programs for all Canadians.
That this program was being chosen to deliver the CSSG, I pushed back. I should have, in hindsight, pulled away and said, I don't want to be involved in this at all. I shouldn't because of family connections. Instead, I said, whoa, let's put the brakes on. Let's check. Let's go do extra verifications. Obviously, hindsight is always 20/20, and I wish I had recused myself instead because this program is right now not delivering the support to students who are volunteering across the country. But I asked the public service to really dig in, to triple check. I asked the ministers to triple check to make sure that we could confidently say that this truly was the only program that could the only organization that could deliver this program in time for this summer. And when the answers came back that yes, indeed, it is absolutely the only program that could do it, I allowed it to go to Cabinet for an up or down decision. Either we have this summer grant program through We organization, or we do not have a summer grant program at all.
Thank you. And we'll take one more question on the phone. Operator?
Thank you. Merci. Next question. Alex Ballingal, the Toronto Star. Line open.
Good morning, Prime Minister. After those red flags came up for you when you saw the proposal on May 8th, between May 8th and the 22nd when Cabinet approved it, did you or your staff go to the Ethics Commissioner and ask about your family's ties to We and if this was a problem? Did you discuss that at all in that time frame with the Ethics Commissioner?
No, we did not. As I said, the Ethics Commissioner had already cleared my wife for working in an unpaid basis with the We organization through a podcast and through events where they covered her travel-related expenses, but did not pay her. That was already pre-cleared by the Ethics Commissioner.
A follow-up, Alex?
The due diligence that you asked for in that time, did any of it address your worries about a perceived conflict, or was there anything that was done to address that, or did you ultimately decide that the program was worth overlooking your worries about a perceived conflict?
The due diligence, extra due diligence I asked for was about really being able to stand in front of Canadians and in front of critiques from the opposition that were undoubtedly to come because of this program's links to me and to a number of members of my government, that this was the right recommendation made independently of any of those issues. The due diligence I pushed on was in order to make sure that this was indeed the right program, the only program only way to be able to move forward with the program.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Parry, CBC. On the app, what's the holdup for getting other provinces to buy into this, and do you have a timeline for when this is going to be a national program?
Excellent question. First of all, the app is something that we have developed in partnership with Ontario. There were a number of decisions we had to take. We had to wait for Apple and Google to update their operating systems so that they could do the Bluetooth handshakes in the background that the app relies on. Many of the other apps tried in other jurisdictions like Australia and Singapore required a level of activity in the front of your phone that meant even people who downloaded it didn't, often use it to its full capacity. So we were reliant on the operating systems to be updated. As that happened, we then worked with experts from BlackBerry and Shopify and others to make sure that the code was right, did a significant amount of beta testing, and now Ontario is ready to move forward. It's our largest province. They have done extraordinary work in creating those links with their public health system. Across the country, now what is needed to happen, and we're looking at the Maritimes next and a number of other provinces that are working very hard to align with this, is they have to make sure that their provincial and territorial public health agencies have the ability to give to anyone who tests positive a code that they can then input into the app so that the system knows that their phone has tested or they have tested positive. Again, this is a situation where I would want to know, people will want to know if someone who they came in contact with over the past few days suddenly tested positive. They don't need to know who, and there's no privacy information shared in this. But you will know if someone you were in proximity with over the past 2 weeks has suddenly tested positive for COVID, you'll get a notification that says you should now call your local public health agency and ask for guidance on the next step. But in order to be able to do that in each province, we have to coordinate with the local public health agency to do that. And that's what we're working on now that we have the system up and running in Ontario, in our largest province. It will hopefully be up and running for local public health agencies right across the country in the coming weeks. Okay.
Regarding the app, we worked together with Ontario to develop the app, and we had to use a previous work that had been carried out by Google and Apple in order to have automatic Bluetooth connections without having to work on the phone as a user. But now that we carried out a number of tests, we are in a position to roll out the app throughout the country with as many functions as possible in Ontario, because the Ontario Health Service has the capabilities enabling it to provide all people who have tested positive to receive a code from Ontario Health informing other people that there is somebody with whom they've been in touch, whose identity is not divulged, who has been tested positive, which means that people who have been in touch with a person who's been tested positive will be informed that they have been in contact with somebody who is positive. We do this all the while giving full protection to privacy and enabling people to help the community, because they become alerted to the fact that they might have been infected through contact with somebody who tested positive. So we're in touch with other provinces, and we're expecting Atlantic provinces to join the app very quickly, and we're also working with other public health provincial and territorial entities in order to provide them with all the capabilities of the app for their citizens over the next weeks to come. Concernant le programme de subventions et de prêts aux étudiants. Est-ce que ce programme est maintenant mort de sa belle mort ou est-ce que vous allez faire quelque chose? Eh bien, nous avons continué de mettre en œuvre des programmes sur très grande échelle aux étudiants. Par exemple, les $1 250 de la prestation d'urgence aux étudiants et on donnera encore plus d'aide aux étudiants porteurs de handicap ou ayant des personnes à charge. Nous avons également le programme d'emploi d'été pour les étudiants et nous avons le programme de prêts et de subventions aux étudiants. Mais ce qui ne va pas arriver aussi rapidement que prévu et qui était prévu dans le programme initial, eh bien, c'est que les jeunes gens qui aujourd'hui se proposent comme bénévoles pour faire du bénévolat dans l'ensemble du pays ne pourront malheureusement pas obtenir les reconnaissances et le crédit. Et donc, ils auraient pu recevoir une subvention allant de $1 000 à $5 000 pour ce volontariat, ce bénévolat. Cependant, nous cherchons encore des façons de coordonner et de superviser la distribution.
Looking for it, but at the same time, just because the grants aren't flowing doesn't mean that young people are not stepping up in a myriad of ways across the country to contribute to their communities and to support Canadians. Okay. Nous avons entrepris beaucoup de mesures pour aider les...
We have taken many measures to help students. For example, the student CERB that provides $1,500 to tens of thousands of students. For example, students with children or disabled students. We have created more jobs through the youth employment program. We're going to continue supporting young people, but what it means is that so far we haven't been able to give $1,000 to $5,000 in grants for the volunteering that students are already doing. There are thousands, many thousands of students who are actively volunteering and helping their communities, but with the delays to the program, given that the WE organization won't be able to deliver the program, we are finding challenges in delivering the program. But young people are continuing to serve their communities.
What exactly did your staffer, Rick Teese, tell WE on May 5th that led them to believe that it was actually okay for them to start spending real money on a volunteering plan that hadn't yet made it to Cabinet?
This was the conversation, as I understand it, between Rick Tice and WE was a very quick conversation in which he mostly referred them back to ESDC. As the Kielburgers said a few days ago in their testimony, they made the decision that if the program was going to be delivered, they should start doing work even before it was approved by Cabinet. That was a decision that they took because they knew how important it was to get this program out, and they assumed certain risks in going forward and starting to spend on a program that hadn't yet been approved by Cabinet and would not be approved for another few weeks, particularly because I put the brakes on it a couple of days later. But it was a decision that they took. Given the pandemic situation, all timelines have been compressed. People are having to step up. They felt it was a good enough program that they were willing to take the risk of starting work even without the formal approval. But that was a decision they took because they believe deeply in helping young people and creating opportunities for young people who want to serve. Okay. La conversation entre Rick Tice et
the conversation between Rick Tice and the people at WE was very short. It focused on the importance of working with the ESDC to define the program. But as we heard of a few days ago from the Kielburger brothers, they took it on themselves to decide to go ahead with the program even before having Cabinet approval, before the program had it, because they wanted to help young Canadians help in their communities. That was their decision. It was a decision made because of the pandemic and because of their commitment to young people in Canada.
earlier questions, Prime Minister, through the due diligence performed by the public servants between May 8th and May 22nd, you asked for more info so you could be confident we was the only option to put the program forward. But knowing about your family's connections and potential conflicts, what specific information or due diligence was provided that made you confident by May 22nd that you didn't need to recuse yourself?
My ask of the public servants and of the minister was to absolutely make sure that what they were suggesting was the hard and cold truth, that there was no other organization that could deliver this program, that the delivery of this program was going to be successful, that this was the right organization for it. I asked them to go back and recheck their work to make sure that they could stand confidently and say, this is our recommendation, it is the right recommendation, and that was the request that I made. And when they came back to me in that intermediate time and gave me the solid assurance that it was the absolute certainty for the public service that this was the only way to deliver the program, and it was the right way to deliver the program, I was willing to let it go to Cabinet on May 22nd.
But your concerns about the personal connections that your family had and potential conflicts?
Well, the concerns about the personal connections that my family had were all around perception. Were all around the fact that it was known that the We organization was something that I had done work with, that my family had done work with, and therefore we needed to make sure that the public service and others could stand up and say, no, the decision to go with We was because they are the right organization to deliver this, and indeed the only organization to deliver it. And that's where I pushed back, because I knew there would be perception issues around this. At the same time, delivering a grant program to students who volunteer across the country has absolutely nothing to do with any work my brother or mother did with We, and that's why there was no conflict of interest. But the perception issue meant that I wanted to push back and really make sure that everyone could say without a shadow of a doubt that this was the program recommended, the way to deliver the program recommended by our outstanding and professional public servants. Okay. Je sais que
I knew that there would be questions given the links between myself and the We organization, and that's why I asked the public service to go back, do some more due diligence and reconfirm that this was really the only way to deliver the program, that We organization was the right organization and the only organization. I knew there would be questions because of the link between my family and We. So I wanted to make 100% sure that our professional and independent public service would say and confirm that this was the only way to deliver the program appropriately. In my view, that was the way of countering concerns, political concerns and concerns regarding perception. But the reality is that providing grants to young people volunteering in their community across Canada has absolutely no there are no links that could in any way benefit my family and what they do.
From being a charity, the only charity, as you said, to be able to handle this giant.
Nous sommes passés du fait où le seul
and losing massive corporate sponsors. Do you take any responsibility for that?
I deeply regret the situation that has unfolded here. This is not how anyone wanted this to happen. This was a program designed to support young people who are volunteering in their communities and give them grants for those volunteer service hours. As we've seen, there are still thousands upon thousands of young people actively volunteering in their communities, but they won't be able to get that grant that is a recognition and, in some cases, an encouragement for them to step up as volunteers. The challenges that have followed for the We organization and indeed the questions that have been asked of this government have been disappointing because it gets in the way of the help that we've focused on doing for young people. We're not able to deliver this grant as of yet, although we're still working on trying to figure out a way to support young people who are volunteering. And the WE organization that has done excellent work over the past years in empowering young people and getting young people active in their communities, running clubs in almost every elementary school and high school, or many elementary schools and high schools across the country, has been extremely effective in empowering young people and getting them to volunteer. Obviously, the situation that has flowed from this is deeply regrettable, and I am deeply sorry that I didn't recuse myself from the beginning. It possibly could have avoided much of this challenge. Instead, I chose to push back and ask for extra due diligence, but that wasn't the right choice, obviously.
Prime Minister, today you announced $59 million for protection of farm workers. I think about the people that have already lost their lives on Canadian soil. I know that Canada doesn't have a financial responsibility to those families. Is there any help for them? I mean, these are people that died bringing us food, and I know that some of them had to repatriate their bodies and pay for it themselves.
I think we look at the tragedies that have hit the temporary foreign workers community with deep sorrow. This is something that is on Canadians. We require support from people from around the world to grow our food, to harvest our food, to get food on Canadians' plates. And we've seen that there are multiple levels at which, in some cases, we have let those communities down. Whether it's the farms that haven't been living up to the standards and expectations that we expect, or provincial governments or federal governments that haven't been properly involved in ensuring that standards are met and that people are protected. There are lots of changes we need to make, and we need to continue to work on supporting these people and these families as they support us with good food on our tables. Je pense que nous devons vraiment réfléchir à quel point
we have to think about how much we owe to foreign workers who come here to Canada and help us put food on the table and help feed Canadians and their families. Our system has shown that there are failures, be it in the farms themselves, in the way that the program is managed at the provincial or federal level, but we owe it to people who come help feed Canadians to protect them. We have announced investments today, and we will continue working with organizations, workers themselves, with the provinces, and with the agricultural sector to make sure that we have a satisfactory protection and support for these workers who are so important to all of us. Thank you.